Hey, welcome to Broken World Entertainment. Andor Episodes 1, 2, and 3 dropped. So, this is going to be more of a breakdown of the 3 episodes, or my thoughts on it anyway, rather than a full kind of review. So, is it good? Is it bad? Where does it fall? How does it affect the Star Wars universe? All that kind of stuff. So, is it good to start with? No. So, is it bad? No. It's right there in the middle. It's just meh. It really is. It's just meh. There are some good aspects to it, but there's also a lot of bad aspects to it. So the goods, we'll go into the kind of pros, if you like. So the first thing that sticks out is the acting itself. The acting is actually quite decent from everyone. It's not like one or two people are good, but everyone else is like just trash where you're just like, oh god. It's all pretty good, you know? Uh Skarsgård when he comes in. Like, what's his first name? I think it's Stellan Skarsgård. When he shows up, like, he's great. He's great in pretty much everything. Uh, Even though Andor is not a likable character, Diego Luna is doing a good job with what he's doing in it. The girl he meets, I don't remember the character's name, so don't look at me for that. The girl he seems to know and kind of gets help off, she was good as well. Um, yeah, just the acting is pretty good. The second thing is the visual effects. The visual effects are really on point in this. Couple of bits here and there, kind of wonky. In particular, in the episode 3, at the end of it, more so. You've seen it in the trailer. The Andor and Stellan Skarsgård, where they're together on the speeder. That's the end of the third episode. It's the first and only scene you really notice that when, as soon as you see them on it, you're like, oh, they're on that volume screen thing. And it's the only scene that really looks like that. And it looked bad, you know? And there's one other shot of like a mine that's, you're kind of looking down into it and you're seeing people walk beside it, and that looks a little off, but everything else is on point. Everything else, even the ships, like, it looks, there's a ship that's like a bus kind of thing that's landing, and straight away you're like, that looks like a practical effect, that looks like that's a model. And I hope it is, because, you know, that's something that's really been lost in the art of entertainment, filmmaking and stuff, is model making. The biggest pro I could give this show is something that nothing, and I mean nothing, that Disney Star Wars has done. This show, the world it's in, looks and feels lived in. It truly does. It's dirty, it's grimy, it's greasy. It's really just a lived in world. Very much like the original trilogy of Star Wars. You know, where you'd see them coming across ships, even the X-Wings, like, you could see the dirt and grime and grease all over the X-Wings. They weren't these pristine, sparkly, clean things. You know, they were used in battles and stuff. And that's very much how this world is. And the fact that it would appear that they properly built sets. You know, it's not all the volume, because the sets are like there's a lot of staircases in this particular town and whatever this planet is that they're on, and it really just feels and looks lived in. You know, there's smoke, there's markets, there's dirt and there's grime, all that kind of stuff. So big props to them for that one. But then you kind of get to the cons. The main con, well, no, I'll leave the main one first. The first con is probably the story, because it's not really what you would think. You know, you'd think it's him in as this rebellion dude trying to fight and take on the Empire. In the first 3 episodes, that ain't the case at all. Number one, he's not in the rebellion at all. He's not a rebel fighter. And in the first 3 episodes, there is not one single element of the Empire. Like, seriously, there's no Empire. The second con would be that it doesn't feel or look like Star Wars. I know it sounds a bit strange, but it really doesn't. It's if you didn't say it was Star Wars and just said it was some other generic sci-fi property, you'd have no problem believing it. It really doesn't feel or look like Star Wars. Even the ship, you can kind of see at least half of a Y-wing and what looks to be, only it's slightly bigger, snow speeder in a junkyard. But there's just nothing that really feels like Star. Even the blasters, when they're firing blasters, they don't make this standard blaster sound that you heard in Star Wars. So that's another one. The biggest con, though, with this is the pacing. It is incredibly slow. Like, painfully slow. These episodes seem to be only about 24 to 25 minutes. And in the very first episode, the first scene is, and I shit you not, Andor on this planet, where he's walking down this big long bridge thing with all these, and it's pouring rain, and he goes into the red light district. I'm not kidding about that either. There's even a red light. It's shaped like a cone or something on the wall, and you're like, what? And he starts going down this little kind of alleyway. It's like the Amsterdam red light district where all the prostitutes and stuff are in the windows. They have these bubble kind of windows, and sure enough, there's people in them kind of trying to get you to come get them. And he goes straight into a brothel. Now, you don't see anything, but he goes into the brothel and he's looking for information. You find out the person he's looking for is his sister. Don't ever remember Rogue One saying that he had a sister, but I could be wrong, and I'm not going to go back and watch it to find out. But one of the hostesses like immediately comes to him, and there's 2 other guys sitting in the corner, white guys, and they get like aggro over the fact that, hey, she went to him first. They're like, hey, we were here first. And from the second he walked in, like, they seem to be eyeing him up and having a problem. They follow him out when he leaves, and they try and shake him down, and he kills them. One of them accidentally, the other in cold-blooded murder, by the way. That entire scene, from him going down to the red light district, to the brothel, and from the second he walks in, the interaction with those guys, to him killing them and leaving. That entire scene took 10 minutes. And I'm not exaggerating. If you look at the actual runtime of that scene, it's bang on 10 minutes. That's half your episode. It's incredibly slow. And the rest of that episode and the next next 2 episodes are him back on the other planet. This was on some planet that's not part of the Empire by the looks of it. There is, and the 2 guys he kills, they're called Corpex, that they call the Corpo. I think it's Corpex, but they're calling them the Corpo. They're a security firm by the looks of it. They're not the Empire, but they do seem to somewhat interact with the Empire. They kind of allude to that, but the Empire doesn't seem to have influence on them. At least not yet, anyway. But once he leaves the planet that he killed the 2 guys on, the rest of the first episode and the next 3 are him basically going back to whatever planet he lives on and trying to buy his way off of it. That's what his story is. And this corpse place, or the corpo, whatever, one of the head fellas kind of wants to open an investigation, a murder investigation, because he knows it's murder. He accidentally killed one of them boy. They hold him at blaster point, and he tells them there's 300 credits in my pocket. Guy goes to the pocket. They tell him, like, take it out. He goes, I'm not moving. If you want it, take it yourself. The first dude goes to take it, and he goes to the other pocket, and when he's there, he headbutts him, like, with the back of his head, which somehow kills him. The other guy, he disarms the other guy, and the other guy, he's like, get him up, and it's like he's dead, and he goes, you're faking. And the other guy starts coming up with a story to say, like, to obviously let him live. And he's come up with, like, we're messing, blah blah blah, and Andor just straight up shoots him in the face. Like, in fucking full cold blood, just shoots him in the face. And yet we're being told Andor is the good guy. This security bloke wants to open an investigation because, like, our men were murdered, and his boss was like, no, we're gonna say it was an accident, that they were trying to defend someone. He goes, don't go too far with that story. We don't want them to be lauded as heroes. They were just good guys trying their best, and unfortunately lost his life. And he goes off, but the other guy still opens an investigation. And it's like, Andor literally just killed 2 dudes in cold blood, but he's meant to be the hero, while this guy is opening an investigation on who killed him. And yet he's been painted as the bad guy. So strange. The other big con with the pacing and stuff, and the story is also just pretty slow and brutal, is there's flashbacks. The flashbacks are like just nothing. They're to when Andor's like 12, maybe 12, 10, 11, 12, with his sister on some other planet. And it just kind of, it goes nowhere. But the problem with the flashback, they keep putting them in the weirdest places. They just kind of pop in, and you're like, oh, that is really weird. And they don't further the story or anything like that. It's just there. And they pop up in the weirdest time. Like in the 3rd episode, when the corpse, or whatever they're called, corporal. I keep saying corpse. Corporal. When they're coming down to the planet to look for him. By the way, they get to the planet, they knock on the door. And Fiona Shaw's character, Fiona Shaw, the one who said it's about a Trumpian world. When she opens the door, they're like, we have a warrant for the arrest of Cassian Andor. And I'm sitting there going, how have you got a warrant for the arrest of Cassian Andor? You're not from this planet. So how have you got a warrant for a different planet? But while they're coming down to the planet, it starts flicking back to those flashbacks. And then it would go back to them in these dropships. And then it would go back again to the and it was just so strange and off-putting. The flashbacks really don't work, and they're just out of place, and they're put in the most random times. And that's another problem with the show. There's just like random scenes that you're just kind of going, why is this here? So the girl who helps Andor, she's like, works in this junkyard type place, and I thought he was her boss. He doesn't seem to be. You're not sure if they're together or not. It kind of seems maybe they are. But he's like following her and stuff, and he finds out that she's helping Andor and that he's wanted and all this, and he sells him out to the corpo. How did he find that out? Because she turned the screen off. Not the computer, just the screen. Why do people do that in films? Quick, just turn the screen off and walk away, because they're never going to turn the screen on. He does. Goes to a phone box, or shit you not, a phone box, to contact the corporal to tell them. But he seems to be following her everywhere. And because he seems like a little obsessed with her. He doesn't follow her in this particular scene. She just leaves. And she says, like, we'll have fun tomorrow night. We'll go out tomorrow night. And he's like, okay. This is when he turns on the screen and sees her. But then we see her in a bar meeting Andor. And the camera looks over. And the dude is sitting across at the other side. And you're like, how did you know where she was? But then we go to him in his house, home, whatever. There's a knock on the door. Like, this scene comes out of nowhere. Because a bit of other things happen. And then it goes to this scene of him just sitting there, drinking what looks like coffee. There's a knock on the door. He asks who it is. It's her. He opens the door. She's like, well, I was at the bar. I felt lonely. He's like, okay. She walks in. And he's like, I'm just surprised you're here. And she's like, well, you want me to leave? He's like, no. And then they just start making out and go to bed. And you're like, and the scene ends. And you're, the hell was the point of that scene? That made no sense. And why was it there? So, would I recommend it, though? You know what? I can't tell you to watch it or not watch it or something. It's really one of those, you'd have to look at it, make up your own mind. You know, watch the first episode and make up your own mind. I can see why people would like it. I can see why other people wouldn't like it. I will put it to you this way. If you're one of the people, and I know there is a ton of people who found the first at least 45 minutes to an hour of Rogue One boring. If you're one of those people, you will hate this show. Because it is even slower than the whole first half of Rogue One. It really just snail paces through, and nothing is happening. The only thing that really happens is near the end of the episode 3. Oh, by the way, they're swearing in it. They say bastard twice and they say shit once. And I'm not kidding. They bring up bastard when they're talking about the corporal. They're like, them bastards will get this, and yeah, to them bastards. But in the third episode, when the corporal were kind of they're trying to catch Andor and Scallon. They kind of set up this choke point, really, where they're going to get him. And one of their ships crashes in a crane way out in the distance behind. And they look back and the commander fella, or one of the head fellas, is like, was that him? And they get a response, we're not sure, we can't see from here. And he says, well, it has to be them. Who else would it be? And they go, okay, but if that's the case, they've managed to get behind us. And the guy looks up to the fire and he just goes, shit. And it completely takes you out of the episode. You're like, whoa, wait, what? Like, even when they said bastard in The Last Jedi, it immediately takes you out of the movie. So do the stupid Marvel jokes, but it immediately took you out of the movie. And when it drops in this, it takes you out of the episode. I think the first one is dropped in the second episode. The next one is in the third episode. And then the shit is dropped in the third episode. And once that guy said that, you're like, oh. How strange. So if this show flops, not that Disney will ever admit that it did, but if it does, I wonder if you're going to get the likes of jackass Freddie Prinze Jr. sitting out there going, you just don't like it. It's a kid show, man. Well, is it? Because you have a guy straight up murdering people by shooting them in the face in a red light district after being in a brothel. And you've swearing. So, I don't know. But you're really going to have to look at it yourself if you're interested in it, have a look. If you've no interest in it, if you think it looks boring, then you'd be right, because it is quite boring. And it is incredibly slow. Incredibly slow. So as I said, if you find the first half of Rogue One really boring, you will hate this. But anyway, that's pretty much it. It's, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's just meh. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. Oh, the music as well. The music is absolutely not Star Wars music. It would work in any other show bar a Star Wars show, because it is so un-Star Wars. But other than that, there's nothing much more to say about it. No Empire. He's not part of the rebellion, which is funny, seeing as in Rogue One he says he was a part of the rebellion since the time he could walk. But yeah, so that's the first 3 episodes of Andor. So if you've seen it, let us know what you think about it. Other than that, I'll leave it there for this one. Cheers. We'll catch you in the next.